My cherished ancestral home, a place of peace and legacy, became the target of my own grandchildren's audacious scheme. My grandson and his wife, blinded by entitlement, tried to manipulate and outright seize my property, even feigning a pregnancy to hasten their plans. But I, ever the quiet strategist, had a few surprises of my own. I secretly sold the cottage and redirected my entire inheritance to a cause far more deserving, leaving them with nothing but the bitter taste of their own greed. Before we dive into this tale, have you ever faced a similar struggle for your independence? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The delicate scent of honeysuckle usually brought me immense joy, a fragrant embrace that whispered tales of generations past. My little cottage, nestled amidst ancient oak trees whose gnarled branches stretched towards the endless blue sky, had been my sanctuary for decades. It was a place where the laughter of my children and grandchildren once echoed through sun-dappled rooms, where the scent of baking bread mingled with the salty air carried from the distant ocean, a constant, comforting presence. This home, with its weathered shingles and rambling rose bushes, was more than just bricks and mortar. It was a living chronicle of my life, built with love, maintained with unwavering care, and imbued with the very essence of my family's history. Every creaking floorboard held a memory, every sunbeam a reflection of a moment cherished. But on my 70th birthday, a day meant for quiet reflection and gentle celebration, that cherished peace shattered. The gathering, a seemingly innocent dinner meant to mark 7 decades of resilience and quiet contentment, quickly morphed into a shocking declaration, delivered with a chilling sense of entitlement by my grandson, Alex, and his wife, Brittany. "Grandma," Alex began, his voice smooth as polished stone, a practiced cadence that always made me wary, hinting at an underlying calculation. He rose from the antique dining chair, pulling Brittany gently to her feet, his arm draped possessively around her slender waist. Brittany, typically reserved and often quiet in my presence, was now beaming, clutching a framed ultrasound image to her chest like a sacred relic. It looked generic, I thought, a nagging doubt, a tiny seed of suspicion, already beginning to sprout in my mind. The image was perfectly centered, the grainy black and white almost too pristine, too perfect, like something pulled directly from a stock photo website, rather than a genuine medical scan. "I'm pregnant," she gushed, her voice a little too high-pitched, her eyes wide and sparkling, perhaps a little too wide, a little too sparkling, betraying an almost theatrical excitement. "And we're so excited to make this official. We're moving into the cottage." My heart sank, a heavy stone dropping into a cold, dark well within my chest. The words hit me like a physical blow, stealing the air from my lungs, leaving me breathless and stunned. My best friend Margaret, whose sharp, perceptive eyes missed nothing, sitting beside me, squeezed my hand under the table, her gaze full of unspoken concern, a silent understanding passing between us. Alex, ever the quick one to capitalize on a moment, chimed in, his voice resonating with false sincerity, a practiced charm that once disarmed me but now felt like a thinly veiled threat. "It just makes sense, Grandma. You don't need all this space, not anymore. Not with just you rattling around here. And we need room to grow our family. It's such a generous gift, truly, for the next generation, a foundation for our future." His eyes, I noticed, swept over the faces of our guests, inviting their approval, their affirmation of his supposed good fortune, his magnanimity. My other grandchild, Mia, usually quiet and reserved, almost shy, but always one to follow Alex's lead, always eager to please her charismatic brother, even chimed in, her voice surprisingly firm, echoing Alex's sentiment. "Yeah, Grandma, it's about time you downsized. You're only one person. We could really use the extra room, especially with a baby on the way. It's practical, efficient." She even offered a small, hesitant smile as if trying to soften the blow. They then raised their glasses, clinking them together with a triumphant, celebratory air, expecting my enthusiastic approval, my joyful tears, perhaps even a public embrace, a testament to my boundless generosity. I managed a weak smile, a forced, brittle expression that felt alien on my face, twisting my lips into a grimace that I hoped passed for happiness, my mind racing, a cold dread beginning to seep into my bones, chilling me to the core. The silence that followed their announcement stretched, thick and uncomfortable, punctuated only by the nervous clinking of cutlery and the murmur of polite, albeit stunned, responses from the other guests, who seemed equally taken aback by the audacious pronouncement. I could feel their eyes on me, a mixture of pity and curiosity. Brittany, oblivious to my internal turmoil or perhaps just choosing to ignore it with a practiced indifference, immediately launched into her grand redecorating plans, as if my home were already an empty canvas awaiting her artistic vision. She pulled out her phone, swiping through Pinterest boards with manicured nails, her expression absorbed. "Oh, the first thing we'll do is modernize this place. These old-fashioned curtains, the floral wallpaper in the living room, it all has to go. It's so dated, isn't it?" She waved a dismissive hand at my beloved floral patterns, a design I had painstakingly chosen with my late husband decades ago, a pattern that brought me comfort. "And that dusty old hutch," she added, wrinkling her nose in distaste as she pointed at the antique piece that had been my grandmother's, a testament to generations of craftsmanship filled with treasured family photographs. "We can probably get rid of it, right? It's a bit dusty and it takes up so much space. We could put a sleek modern media console there instead." My grandmother's hutch, a family heirloom that held centuries of stories within its polished wood, filled with the echoes of my ancestors, dismissed as dusty, a mere inconvenience and eyesore. My jaw tightened, my hands clenching into fists under the table, my knuckles white. "Of course, you can still visit," she continued, her voice dripping with condescension, a patronizing sweetness that set my teeth on edge, completely oblivious to my mounting anger, to the silent fury building within me. "We'll set up a guest room in the attic for you. It'll be perfect for when you come to see the baby. We'll even put in a little reading nook up there for you with a nice comfy chair." Alex, ever so smoothly, ever the master of veiled threats disguised as kindness, chimed in, "We'll give you plenty of time to get your affairs in order, Grandma. No rush at all. We want this to be a smooth transition for everyone, especially for you." They hadn't asked, they had decided. My ancestral home, the very fabric of my being, the sanctuary of my memories, the place where I had hoped to spend my remaining years in peace, was being claimed, ripped away from me with a casual wave of a hand and a patronizing smile. I excused myself, claiming a sudden, debilitating headache, the words tasting like ash in my mouth, and retreated to the quiet solitude of my bedroom, closing the door firmly behind me. The once comforting walls now felt like the oppressive boundaries of a prison. The silence in my room was heavy, suffocating, a stark contrast to the forced gaiety and calculating whispers in the living room. My home, filled with laughter and love for decades, now felt tainted, no longer truly mine. The air felt thick with their presumptive ownership. That night, sleep was a distant luxury, a tantalizing illusion. My mind raced, replaying every condescending word, every entitled glance, every calculated smile. The scene at the dinner table, the public humiliation, spun endlessly in my thoughts, a cruel reel of betrayal. I vaguely recalled a conversation with Alex about a year ago, after I'd taken a nasty fall down the back steps and broken my hip. He had seemed so concerned then, so solicitous, so genuinely helpful. He'd come to visit me in the hospital, brimming with false solicitude, his brow furrowed with what appeared to be genuine worry, and had gently suggested we sort out my affairs to ease my mind during my painful recovery. He'd presented a stack of papers, telling me they were standard forms for medical proxies and financial planning, all designed to protect me, he'd insisted, to ensure my well-being in case of future incapacitation. I was still a bit fuzzy from the pain medication at the time, my thoughts muddled, my judgment clouded, trusting his seemingly well-meaning words, eager to alleviate any perceived burden on my children. Now, a knot of dread, cold and hard, formed in the pit of my stomach. I got out of bed, my hip aching with a phantom pain that mirrored the sharp ache in my heart, a constant reminder of my vulnerability. I moved slowly, deliberately towards my old mahogany desk, its surface scarred with years of use. I began to search through my old documents, the faint scent of aged paper filling the air. Tucked away in a dusty file marked "Legal," buried beneath old tax returns and utility bills, I found it. A durable power of attorney document, dated just after my fall, bearing my shaky, barely legible signature. It granted Alex considerable financial authority, almost unlimited, allowing him to manage my bank accounts, investments, and even real estate transactions without my explicit consent. My hands trembled as I read the clauses, each word a chilling confirmation of his deceit, a testament to his calculated manipulation. I tried to calm my racing heart, to convince myself that I was overreacting, that this was just a misunderstanding, but the vivid memory of Alex's smug smile and Brittany's cold, calculating eyes at dinner pushed those futile doubts aside. They knew exactly what they were doing. First thing in the morning, with the sun barely peeking over the horizon, casting long, pale shadows across my bedroom floor, I called my lawyer, Miss Albright. Her office was in the next town over, and she had been my family's attorney for decades, a woman whose sharp intellect was matched only by her unwavering integrity and her no-nonsense approach. Miss Albright, I began, my voice wavering with a mixture of fear and barely suppressed fury, I need your help. I think my grandson Alex has taken advantage of me. I explained the horrific birthday declaration, the startling news of the supposed pregnancy, and the horrifying discovery of the power of attorney document, recounting every detail, every chilling word. Miss Albright, always sharp and direct, listened patiently, her silence punctuated only by the occasional rustle of papers on her end, a sign she was taking notes. "Eleanor," she finally said, her voice grave, a tone that sent shivers down my spine. "If not revoked, he has significant control. Technically, he could make decisions on your behalf, even sell your property without your explicit consent, if he got a doctor to declare you medically unfit to make your own decisions." My blood ran cold, turning to ice in my veins. The possibility of being deemed mentally incompetent, of losing all control over my life, my independence, my very self, terrified me more than anything. "We need to revoke this immediately, Eleanor," she insisted, her voice firm and urgent, leaving no room for argument. "And Eleanor, this is crucial. Do not sign anything or agree to anything without my direct review. Do not respond to them directly unless I advise it. Every interaction with them needs to be documented. Every text, every call, every visit. Keep a meticulous record, a diary of their actions." Reflecting on Alex and Brittany's perfectly rehearsed performance at the party, their perfectly synchronized smiles, their pre-planned speeches, it all clicked into place with horrifying clarity. This wasn't a request, it was a carefully orchestrated play designed to corner me into a public agreement they could later leverage in court. Their announcement was not for me, but for the witnesses to create a veneer of consent. I wasn't their beloved grandmother anymore. I was merely an obstacle to their financial gain, a hurdle to be overcome, a cash cow to be milked dry, a mere asset to be liquidated. The anger that had simmered within me slowly began to boil, a quiet but potent heat, hardening my resolve. I would not be their victim. I would fight back, not with their theatrics but with precision and strategy. A few days later, a formal-looking document was slipped under my front door, its stark white envelope a jarring contrast to the cozy warmth of my cottage. The familiar scent of old paper mingled with the crispness of fresh ink. It was titled Preliminary Transfer of Occupancy Agreement, its legal jargon dense and intimidating. Lines for Alex's and Brittany's names were already filled in, their signatures neatly appended, looking official and resolute. Only my signature was missing, a blank space awaiting my unwitting consent. A sticky note from Alex was attached, his familiar, looping handwriting, once comforting, now a sickening sight. "Just sign this by Friday for the mortgage application. This will make everything go smoothly, Grandma. We're so excited to start our family in our new home." "Thanks, Grandma." I didn't even touch it with my bare hands. I used a tissue to pick it up, as if it were contaminated. I immediately called Miss Albright, describing the document in precise detail, even reading out some of the clauses over the phone. "Eleanor," she said, her voice urgent, "this is a trap. Do not sign it. Do not even leave it on the table where they might try to swipe it. Shred it immediately and then burn the pieces. He's trying to create a paper trail to make it seem like you're willingly participating in the scheme. This is a thinly veiled attempt at coercion." She then warned me about another document I'd vaguely remembered signing at the hospital. A limited authority designation. It named Alex as my proxy for financial decisions during temporary incapacity. I'd signed a stack of papers, all presented with Alex's reassuring smiles and promises of streamlining things during my recovery when my mind was clouded by pain and medication. Miss Albright confirmed my fear. "They could very well try to challenge your mental capacity in court based on this, Eleanor. Any accidental agreements you make via text or email, any vague statement, any moment of confusion could be twisted as consent, as proof of your supposed mental decline. They're building a case against you." The birthday dinner, Alex's smug smile, Brittany's dramatic declarations, it was all a strategic performance, designed to be witnessed by others to create a false narrative that would hold up in court. They were framing me as an elderly, confused woman incapable of managing her own affairs, eager to relinquish control. The realization was a bitter pill to swallow. a cold, metallic taste in my mouth, a stark reminder of their callousness. But the fear that had initially gripped me slowly began to transform into a steely resolve, a quiet determination that hardened my spirit. I would not be their victim. I would not let them steal my home, my legacy, or my peace. I would fight back, not with their theatrics, but with precision and strategy, with the quiet strength of a woman who had seen too much to be easily fooled. I sprang into action, a quiet storm brewing within me. The rage, once simmering, now became a focused energy. I immediately contacted my bank to freeze my credit and secure all my accounts. I changed every single password to all my online accounts, my email, my banking apps, my social media. I revoked every form of power Alex held, sending official notices through Miss Albright's office. I updated my emergency contacts, replacing Alex with Miss Albright and Margaret. I began a meticulous process of documenting every interaction with them. Screenshots of Brittany's sickeningly cheerful social media posts about our new home, recordings of Alex's increasingly demanding voicemails, and detailed journal entries of every single conversation, noting dates, times, and exact quotes, even the tone of their voices. I even changed the locks on my cottage gate and on all the doors and windows of the house, a small act of defiance that brought a quiet sense of satisfaction, a reclaiming of my space. I needed to maintain a clear head, so I stopped taking my usual sleep aids and avoided alcohol entirely, needing to be sharp, focused, and utterly present for what I knew was coming. My mind felt like a finely tuned machine, ready for battle. 2 days later, as the morning sun streamed through my kitchen window, illuminating dust motes dancing in the golden light, Brittany arrived unannounced, her face a mask of concern, a gift bag swinging from her manicured hand. Her smile was saccharine, plastered on her face, but her eyes, I noticed, were cold, calculating, betraying no genuine warmth. "Just wanted to check on you, Grandma. And I brought your favorite lavender tea," she trilled, pushing a warm mug towards me. Its aroma, sickly sweet and cloying, seemed to fill the room, making my stomach churn. I didn't reach for it, my hands clasped tightly behind my back, an invisible shield. She laughed nervously, her smile faltering slightly, her perfectly sculpted brows furrowing with a hint of irritation. "Figured it'd be a nice surprise, Grandma, a little pick-me-up." Then she pushed the gift bag towards me, almost aggressively. "It's baby blankets, handmade actually, we're just so excited. You know how much it meant that you offered us the cottage. It's truly a blessing for our little one, a foundation for our future family." Her eyes, I noticed, were a little too bright, a little too eager, certainly not the soft, expectant glow of a truly pregnant woman. There was a desperate edge to her cheerfulness. Once inside, she made herself entirely too at home, moving through my cottage with a proprietary air that grated on my nerves. She casually grabbed a diet soda from my fridge, another detail that struck me as odd for a newly pregnant woman, given the typical aversion to caffeine. She then began her grand tour of my cottage, her voice filled with a condescending enthusiasm. "Oh, this corner will be perfect for the crib," she gushed, pointing at my cherished reading nook, the very spot where I spent countless hours lost in books, wrapped in a blanket, sipping tea. "And we'll paint the walls a nice neutral gray, much more modern than this faded floral, so much more chic." She even ran her hand along my grandmother's hutch, then wrinkled her nose in distaste, a gesture of absolute contempt. "This old hutch, we can probably get rid of it, right? It's a bit dusty and it takes up so much space. We could put a sleek modern media console there instead. It's just clutter, really." My grandmother's hutch, a family heirloom that held centuries of stories within its polished wood, filled with the echoes of my ancestors, now dismissed as dusty, a mere inconvenience and eyesore. My jaw tightened, my hands clenching into fists behind my back, my knuckles white. She moved on, her gaze sweeping over my beloved sewing room, where I had spent countless hours creating intricate quilts for charity, pouring my heart into every stitch, finding solace in the rhythmic hum of my sewing machine. "And this," she declared, her voice firm, resolute, as if she were speaking to an interior decorator, "we should probably convert this into a nursery sooner than later. Babies need space, not clutter, right, Grandma? All these fabrics and sewing machines are just taking up valuable real estate." That was it. The casual dismissal of my passions, my hobbies, my life's work was the final straw. A cold, steady fire ignited within me, replacing the simmering anger. But I kept my voice calm, almost unnervingly so, a facade of tranquility over a churning storm. Brittany, I began, my gaze fixed on her, unwavering, piercing through her forced cheerfulness. When exactly did your doctor confirm this pregnancy? Her smile faltered, her eyes darting away, a telltale sign of her deception. She fidgeted, adjusting the strap of her purse. It's early, she stammered, her voice suddenly unsure. Too early for tests. I just know it's a feeling, a mother's intuition. A lie, a blatant, poorly executed lie. Later, while she was in the bathroom, undoubtedly checking her phone or perhaps composing a text to Alex, I quickly, silently, moved towards her open purse, which lay carelessly tossed on the sofa. My heart pounded in my chest as I pulled out a manila folder nestled amongst her makeup and receipts. Inside, I saw it, detailed floor plans of my cottage, meticulously marked with new furniture placements, and more chillingly, a printed real estate appraisal with a surprisingly high valuation. They weren't planning a nursery, they were planning to flip my property, to sell my home out from under me for a quick profit, to turn my cherished memories into their financial gain. My hands trembled with a mixture of rage and fear as I snapped quick photos of the documents with my phone, the click of the camera barely audible over the pounding of my heart. This was undeniable proof of their sinister intentions, their calculated betrayal. When she emerged, her smile back in place, I invited her to stay for dinner, my voice laced with a sweetness I didn't feel, a sweetness that belied the fury churning within me. I served her a bland, pre-made frozen pasta dish and some lukewarm herbal tea, watching her discreetly as she picked at her food, still chattering on about nursery themes and baby names, completely oblivious to the fact that her scheme was unraveling right before her eyes. After she left, still spouting cheerful goodbyes and promises of future visits, I secured my door, double-locking it, and created a new hidden folder on my phone titled Proof. This wasn't family anymore, this was fraud. This was theft. This was an attempt to steal my life, my memories, my very identity. The next morning, with the first blush of dawn painting the sky in soft pastels, I made the call that would set my liberation in motion. My dear friend, Sophia, a retired real estate broker with a reputation for discretion and unparalleled skill, answered on the second ring, her voice crisp and alert even at that early hour. Sophia, I began, my voice steady, no longer wavering, imbued with a newfound resolve. I need your help, a big help. I recounted everything, every chilling detail. The birthday ultimatum, the startling news of the supposed pregnancy, the horrifying discovery of the documents in Brittany's purse, their entire calculated deception. Sophia listened intently, her silence punctuated only by the occasional sharp intake of breath, a sign she was absorbing every word. Eleanor, she finally said, her voice firm, unwavering, leaving no room for doubt, you need to get out now before they realize you're onto them. You need to sell your cottage, and you need to do it quietly, quickly, and cleanly. Time is of the essence. I agreed without hesitation. The thought of leaving my beloved home was heartbreaking, a wrenching pain in my chest, a profound sense of loss. But the alternative, losing it to their greed, seeing it stripped of its history and sold off like a commodity, my memories trampled underfoot, was far, far worse. Sophia, true to her word, proved to be a godsend. She moved with lightning speed, demonstrating the kind of efficiency and expertise that only decades in the business could cultivate. She listed my cottage exclusively through her private network of trusted buyers, ensuring no public listings that could tip off Alex and Brittany to my plans. The process was almost invisible, a secret operation hidden in plain sight, conducted with utmost discretion. For the next 3 days, I played along perfectly, a master actress in my own silent drama. I sent Alex and Brittany cheerful texts, responding with monosyllabic affirmations, careful not to reveal anything. I liked their sickeningly cheerful social media posts about family legacies and new beginnings. I even commented on one of Brittany's posts about choosing nursery colors, such lovely pastels, dear. So calming for a little one, I'm sure it will be beautiful. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, I was a whirlwind of strategic planning, a silent storm of action. Sophia found me a small, secluded bungalow several states away, nestled near a tranquil lake in a quiet, unassuming town called Willow Creek. It was modest, certainly not the sprawling cottage I was used to, but it was private, charming, and most importantly, miles away from their suffocating influence. I coordinated a wire transfer for the purchase, the money from the cottage sale ready to be deposited into a new, secure account far from Alex's reach. I then hired Tom, a local handyman from my church, a quiet, reliable man known for his discretion and trustworthiness, a soul who understood the value of privacy. He helped me pack only my most cherished belongings. My late husband's old workbench, its dark wood scarred with years of loving use. My grandmother's china, each delicate piece a tangible link to my past. And all my precious family photo albums filled with faded images of happier times, of faces I loved, of memories that defined me. The rest, I decided, could go. It was just stuff, I told myself, things that could be replaced. My memories, my essence, could not. Those I carried within me. I informed the neighborhood association president, a kindly woman named Mrs. Henderson, whom I often chatted with over garden fences, that I would be traveling indefinitely, citing a need for rest and recovery after a recent minor medical procedure. I changed my emergency contact to Sophia and redirected my mail to a P.O. box in my new town, setting a delayed start date for the mail service to avoid suspicion. I even called the utility company, explaining I was moving in with a relative for extended medical recovery, subtly garnering sympathy I didn't correct, playing the part of the frail, elderly woman they expected. I maintained a calm, almost serene facade, a quiet determination radiating from me, allowing them to believe I was docile, unaware, and slowly accepting my fate. Every day I watched them, waited for their next move, and meticulously planned my escape, anticipating their every step. On a quiet Tuesday afternoon, as I was putting the final touches on my packing, sealing the last box of books, and the sale of my cottage was officially closed, the deed already transferred, the funds securely in my new hidden account, a frantic, furious pounding erupted at my front door. It was Alex. His face was contorted with a mixture of panic and fury, his hair disheveled, his eyes wild with disbelief. "Grandma, open the door, we know about the realtor. We know you're selling the house," he yelled, his voice raw with disbelief, echoing through the empty rooms. I didn't move, hidden in the shadows of my hallway, a silent sentinel, my heart a steady drumbeat. I knew they were locked out. I'd changed the locks 2 days ago, a small victory I had relished. He tried his key, rattling the doorknob violently, then pounded harder, his frustration mounting, his shouts growing louder. "You're sabotaging your own family. Do you understand that, Grandma? You're ruining everything." Silence. I held my breath, every muscle in my body tensed, listening to his escalating rage. His voice dropped to a low, menacing growl filled with thinly veiled threats, a promise of retribution. "If you don't open this door and talk like an adult, I swear to God, I'll do what I have to do legally. You won't get away with this." He slid an envelope under the door, its stark white surface a symbol of his legal maneuvering. It was a formal notice of intent to seek guardianship, citing potential cognitive decline and highlighted sections about my unpredictable behavior. His signature scrawled across the bottom in a bold, defiant flourish. I didn't even touch the envelope. I immediately called Miss Albright, my voice calm despite the tremor that ran through my hands. "They're escalating Aliner," she sighed, her voice heavy with weariness, a familiar tone when dealing with such unpleasantness. "They're trying to challenge your competency, to get a court to declare you unfit to manage your own affairs. It's a nasty tactic, but one we anticipated. Don't worry, we have everything in place." That night, fueled by a mixture of anger and a desperate need for justice, I worked meticulously. I organized all my documentation, creating multiple redundant copies, storing them in various secure locations. I set up my phone and recorded myself, clear-eyed and articulate, my voice firm and unwavering, summarizing my financial decisions, the precise reasons behind them, and the entire timeline of Alex and Brittany's deceit. I detailed the fake pregnancy, the documents I'd found in Brittany's purse, and my deliberate decision to sell the cottage and secure my future. I sent it all to Miss Albright's secure cloud folder, time-stamped and undeniably authentic. The sale agreement for the cottage, the purchase offer for the bungalow, everything was meticulously documented, making my case airtight, leaving no room for doubt about my mental acuity. I was prepared for any legal battle they might wage. The next day, as I was putting the final touches on my departure, closing the last few boxes, Brittany appeared alone, her face blotchy with tears, her hair disheveled, a theatrical performance clearly underway. She had undoubtedly seen the "for sale" sign, or perhaps Alex had tipped her off after his failed attempt. "We're trying to build a family, and you're being cruel, Grandma. You promised us a home. You said we were welcome here." she wailed, her voice raw with feigned anguish, her phone held high, recording every sob, every dramatic gesture, capturing her plight for a wider audience. I opened the door just enough to be seen, my face devoid of emotion, a blank slate that offered no quarter. "Leave," I said, my voice barely above a whisper but firm, carrying the full weight of my resolve, a quiet command. She stared at me, her eyes wide with a mixture of shock and fury, then her gaze darted to her phone, ensuring she caught my cold dismissal, a perfect visual for her narrative. Her video, titled Family Betrayal. A Pregnancy Without a Home, went viral within hours, garnering thousands of likes and a deluge of hateful comments about me, painting me as a heartless, cruel old woman. The internet, a tool they had used against me, now mirrored their distorted narrative, a cacophony of judgment and condemnation. Later that day, Alex sent me a PDF via text. A deed of transfer, already signed by him and Brittany, with my name left blank. It was their final, desperate attempt to assert control, to make me acknowledge their claim, to force my hand. I forwarded it to Miss Albright without even opening it, a silent act of defiance, then texted Alex back, my fingers flying across the keyboard, "You'll be served within the week. Do not contact me again." I then powered off my phone, severing the last fragile thread of connection, cutting them off entirely. The silence that followed was deafening, but it was a welcome silence, a profound piece of my own choosing. I had played their game, and I had won. Before dawn the next morning, at precisely 4:35 a.m., under the cloak of pre-dawn darkness, I left my cottage for good. The house was empty, stripped bare of its furniture, only the faint scent of honeysuckle lingering in the air, a ghost of happier times. I left a simple note for the new owners on the kitchen counter, tucked beneath a small, blooming African violet I couldn't bear to leave behind. "This home is yours now, I'm taking only the silence and the peace." I didn't look back, not even for a fleeting moment. The morning air was crisp and cool, a cleansing balm on my skin, washing away the lingering traces of anger and betrayal. As I drove away, the familiar outline of my cottage shrinking in my rearview mirror, fading into the pre-dawn gloom, I felt a strange, profound sense of liberation, as if a great weight had been lifted from my shoulders. The honeysuckle still scented the air, but now it smelled of freedom, not entanglement. The sun was just beginning to rise, painting the sky with hues of rose and gold, a beautiful omen for a new beginning, a promise of a future I would build on my own terms. Sophia met me 2 towns over, her embrace warm and comforting, her smile a beacon of genuine support and understanding. "You did it, Eleanor," she whispered, a proud gleam in her eyes. "You're free." We drove the remaining hours to my new bungalow, a small, unassuming place nestled near a tranquil lake, surrounded by whispering pines and towering cedars, a sanctuary of natural beauty. When I finally stepped inside, the quiet was profound, a tangible presence that wrapped around me like a soft blanket. I stood in the empty kitchen, the morning sun streaming through the windows, illuminating dust motes dancing in the golden light, and exhaled deeply, the first truly peaceful breath I'd taken in weeks, perhaps even months, a breath filled with the clean, fresh air of independence. 3 days later, after settling into my new, serene environment, arranging my few cherished belongings, I finally turned on my phone. It exploded with notifications. Dozens of missed calls, 19 voicemails, and over 60 texts. My screen glowed with a frantic symphony of their desperation, a digital clamor that felt distant and unreal. Group chats from cousins, distant relatives, and even my own sister were filled with screenshots of Brittany's tearful video and Alex's lengthy, self-pitying messages, claiming I had abandoned them and flipped their home out from under them, painting me as a villain. The lie about Brittany's pregnancy persisted, a sickening constant, and distressingly many believed it, sending messages of condemnation and thinly veiled threats, calls for me to do the right thing. I scrolled through the messages, feeling a pang of sadness for the disappointment of those I had once helped, those who now judged me so readily without knowing the full story, without understanding the depth of their betrayal. But then, a small ray of hope, a beacon in the storm. My niece, Clara, a fiercely independent young woman with a keen sense of justice, texted me privately. "Aunt Eleanor," it read, "I don't buy any of this. Are you okay?" My heart swelled with gratitude, tears blurring my vision. Clara had always been perceptive, seeing through the veneer of politeness to the uncomfortable truths beneath. I replied, "Yes, safe and done." She sent a heart emoji and offered, "Call me if you ever need backup, I'm here." It was a quiet loyalty, a profound act of support, a reminder that not everyone was fooled by their elaborate performance. Miss Albright called shortly after, her voice calm and reassuring, her words a balm to my weary soul. "The cottage sale has closed, Eleanor," she confirmed, "and the funds are securely transferred to your new account. They won't risk filing a guardianship claim now. You've outmaneuvered them completely. The evidence you compiled is overwhelming, airtight. Any judge would see through their charade, and they know it." She then confirmed the final details of my updated will. I had already taken care of it weeks prior, working in secret with Miss Albright, redirecting all my assets, every last penny, to a new charitable trust, the Leaner's Refuge Fund, dedicated to supporting elderly women who had experienced familial exploitation and abuse. Alex and Brittany were legally disinherited and explicitly, legally barred from any claim to my estate. Their names were not merely absent, they were barred by careful legal language, leaving no loopholes. That evening, as I was preparing a simple meal of fresh fish caught from the nearby lake, my phone buzzed again. It was Alex, a final, venomous message that burned with his raw, unbridled fury. "If Grandpa could see you now, he'd be disgusted. You've become a cruel, heartless old woman, a disgrace to this family." I didn't reply. I knew what my late husband, a man of integrity and honor, a man who believed in hard work and fairness, would have said. "She should have done it sooner, much, much sooner. You did the right thing, Eleanor." A few days later, a small, flat package arrived at my bungalow. Inside was a framed ultrasound picture and a generic-looking card. "Can we start over?" A and B, it was the same stock image I'd seen online, utterly pathetic in its transparent deception, a desperate, final attempt to manipulate me. I set it aside, untouched, then eventually tossed it in the recycling bin. Then came the email, its subject line stark: "Dinner, will be in your area this weekend, just to talk, no pressure, just family." I ignored it, deleting it without a second thought. On Saturday evening, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues of orange and purple, I watched from my kitchen window as Alex and Brittany's black SUV pulled up at the end of my driveway. They got out, dressed far too nicely for a casual visit to a rural bungalow, their faces a mixture of desperation and lingering arrogance. They walked towards my door, then Alex knocked, a sharp, insistent rap that reverberated through the quiet house. "Grandma, we just want to talk. We drove all this way from the city," he called out, his voice tinged with a false pleading, trying to elicit sympathy. Brittany's voice, a dramatic crackle, followed. "You're shutting out your grandchild. Is that what you want, Grandma, to be alone, to miss out on seeing your only great-grandchild grow up?" I remained in the dark, silent, observing them from the safety of my new home, a ghost in my own life. I watched as Alex peered into my windows, cupping his hands against the glass, trying to see if I was there. They stayed for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 22 minutes, their voices growing more desperate, then finally turning to angry whispers as they realized their pleas were falling on deaf ears, that their theatrical performance had no audience. Finally, defeated, they left a bottle of wine, a reconciliation red, no less, a bitter irony, on my doorstep, a flimsy olive branch that meant nothing. I picked it up later and promptly poured it down the drain, watching the dark liquid swirl away, washing away their last attempt to reach me. Alex sent a final, desperate text. "You win. Hope it was worth losing your family. You'll regret this, Grandma, when you're old and truly alone." I screenshotted it, added it to my proof folder, a testament to their final, pathetic surrender, and then, with a deep breath, deleted his contact information from my phone, his number scrubbed from my life. My new neighbor, Diane, a straight-talking woman with kind eyes and a wry sense of humor, whom I had befriended over shared gardening tips, chuckled when I told her about the fake sonogram and their unexpected visit. "People get bold when money's involved, Eleanor," she said, shaking her head. "But you didn't give them what they wanted. That makes you dangerous to them now." Dangerous, I mused, repeating the word aloud. It felt new. It felt right. It felt like a badge of honor, a quiet triumph. I threw myself into cultivating my new life. I started a small garden, tending to the herbs and vegetables with a quiet joy I hadn't felt in years, feeling the rich earth beneath my fingertips, nurturing new life. I joined the local book club, finding genuine camaraderie among fellow literary enthusiasts, discussing novels and sharing cups of tea. I even took up painting classes at the community center, discovering a hidden talent for watercolors, splashing vibrant colors onto canvases, a stark contrast to the muted tones of my recent past. When my phone buzzed with an unrecognized number, a pattern of nuisance calls that had become familiar, I let it go to voicemail. It was Brittany. "Hi, Eleanor, it's me. I know things got messy, but we're still hoping to keep a door open for the baby for the future. Please just call us back." I deleted it without a second thought. The only door that mattered was the one they could never walk through again. Miss Albright called shortly after, her voice calm and reassuring, her words a balm to my weary soul. "The final legalities are complete, Eleanor," she confirmed. "The will is filed, everything is in order." My assets, from my bungalow to my savings, now officially belonged to the Eleanor's Refuge Fund. My niece Clara called a few weeks later, her voice filled with a mischievous glee. "I think Alex knows, Aunt Eleanor," she whispered conspiratorially. "He's posting those passive-aggressive quotes again, all about chosen family and betrayal. It's quite pathetic, honestly. Everyone's starting to see through it." I laughed, a genuine, joyful sound that bubbled up from deep within me, filling the quiet space of my home. "Let them quote, Clara, let them complain. They lost the right to my name when they tried to steal it." The charity board confirmed my first deposit to the Eleanor's Refuge Fund had been allocated to assist a woman in a remarkably similar situation. An elderly widow whose stepchildren were trying to force her into a nursing home to sell her property and claim her assets. It brought me a profound sense of satisfaction, knowing my hardship could now ease another's, that my experience could become a shield for someone else. I opened a bottle of sparkling water and scrolled through online photos of my old cottage. A new, happy family lived there now, their children playing in the yard, a swing set already installed, a vibrant burst of color. And there, through the living room window, I could see it. My grandmother's hutch, still standing, now holding new potted plants, looking refreshed and loved, its history honored by those who truly appreciated it. It felt like true closure, a peaceful ending to a turbulent chapter, a harmonious new beginning. An old college friend of Alex's, someone I hadn't spoken to in years, even sent me a text. "Saw what they did," it read. "You were right to cut them off. Wish my mom had done the same before my sister drained her dry." I simply replied, "Thank you." I realized then that I had put a name to something many experienced but rarely discussed, a silent epidemic of elder exploitation that often went unnoticed, unaddressed. My story, my quiet defiance, could be a beacon for others, a testament to resilience. 6 months later, I hadn't heard a single word from Alex or Brittany since the legal notice barred them from contacting me about inheritance. They hadn't contested the will, they finally understood I was truly gone from their lives, a bridge burned beyond repair forever. My days were filled with the simple joys of gardening, volunteering at the local library, and lively chess games with Diane, who swore I had a killer instinct she'd never seen before, always surprising her with my strategic moves. I cooked again, explored new recipes, and laughed aloud, the sound echoing freely in my little bungalow. I slept soundly, without clutching my phone like a weapon, its presence no longer a source of anxiety but a mere tool, easily discarded. The day before my 71st birthday, Clara sent me a photo of her newborn daughter, a beautiful, tiny bundle swaddled in a soft blanket, her eyes wide and curious. The note read, "If she grows up to be half as strong as you, I'll have done something right." I pinned it to the fridge with a magnet shaped like a sunflower and cried the quiet kind of tears that don't sting, the kind that rinse the last of something away, leaving only peace and gratitude. That evening, I sat at the kitchen table, the soft glow of a lamp illuminating the silence, and wrote a check to a local shelter that helps older women escaping financial control, a significant donation that would change lives. I signed it with a flourish and sealed it with the words, "Use it well. She got out." She got out. As the sun dipped behind the trees and the breeze moved gently through the wind chimes I'd hung from an old pine hook, their gentle chime a soothing melody, my phone buzzed once more, an unknown number. I didn't flinch, I didn't even look. I powered it off and slid it into a drawer. I didn't need it anymore because this life I had built with no audience, no performance, no one clapping for something they helped break, was finally mine. The bungalow was quiet, and so was I, and for the first time in years that silence felt like absolute peace. Permanent, final, exactly how I wanted it.